Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I'm just going to be doing some sketching, chatting to you. It's a very busy week for me. It's my birthday week and I'm going away on the weekend, and I just wanted to make sure that I had something to upload for Sunday. So this will be Sunday when this comes out, so I hope you guys are having a good weekend. I've been sketching quite a bit with the Arteza real brush pens, which Arteza kindly sent to me. I'll show you a couple over here. So this page is the Pentel color brush, art brush, whatever they call it. And then this is one of the Arteza brushes here. I like how you can wet the ink and get some mid-tones in there. This one turned out quite well. These are some printouts of something I was working on, but I'm gonna start sketching on this page. We'll do a spread. The color that I'm using today is Wine Red A182, and I'm just gonna be sketching from some vintage photographs. I think that's really fun. I like the shapes of vintage fashion, and I like the sort of sensibility of, the greatcoat with the tie and the scarf and the everything. So yeah, I'll just sketch a bit and talk to you, I guess. I've always really liked costume design and like clothes and how to construct clothes and stuff like that. When I was younger, my grandma taught me how to sew, and she still helps me out sometimes with slightly more complicated projects if I'm working on them, but I do have like a little sewing station in my house. I have a sewing machine and all that. So I sort of know like how clothes go together, and I think that's an important part of being able to draw clothes and also being able to invent clothes or costumes for characters in your artwork. So I don't know, I find that knowing how you construct like the lapel of a men's jacket, for example, helps a lot. And those details add a lot of groundedness to my drawings, I think anyway. I'm sort of in a weird position where like mostly I draw like animals and landscapes, and then at work I do like a lot of graphic design, and then I've not really done a lot of figurative like human work for my freelance practice. Like I think I've done, they show up in my work, but I'm not often hired to do them, and I think part of that is that I don't know, my human drawings tend to be a bit stiff, and I've always known that this is a problem. And the only way you get better at that is like by doing way more life drawing and gesture studies and stuff. But anyway, the only way you get better is through practice. So that is to say, I think I like drawing clothes quite a lot, and I know how clothes go together and stuff, but then the underlying like figure drawings aren't as good as some of my other work. So I don't know, I'm just chatting away a little bit. But like, for example, so a really great way to add little details to your work is to draw the stitching. So you can see I've sort of hinted at the stitching on the collar here, because the lapel of a men's jacket is usually top stitched, which means you stitch over it once you're already pretty much done putting it together. I'm gonna try to get this guy's face in here. That requires a bit more concentration. Let's see, bud. Let's get you a face. I'm looking back and forth between this and my reference image, which is on my laptop over there. So if my voice is like kind of drifting that way, that's why. great. We got that going on there. Got an ear. Got some hair. The ear on the other side. Hair on the other side. And then just marking in the face. So obviously, like drawing straight with a pen like this, it's really hard to get it exact, and it's really hard to, like, I don't know, practice that too. So I just sort of, I try to lightly put them in, and then the nice thing with these brushes is that you can wet them after and then do a little more detailing that way. So like this doesn't exactly look like the guy in the photo, but it'll do for now. Like, yeah, like it doesn't look like the dude, not at all, but it looks like a dude, so that's kind of close enough. And yeah, the only way you get better at that is just by practicing and doing your land marking and stuff. If I was drawing a person with pencil, I'd be doing a lot more land marking, but I don't want the drawing to get messy, so I am avoiding that with the ink. So it's just a different sort of technique to draw with, and I don't know, I think it's fun. I think it's it forces you to think in a different way, which is good for your skills, and also, I don't know, it just makes sketchbooking, it gives some variety to what you're practicing and stuff. So getting in the ends of the scarf there. This guy is also wearing a jacket beneath his greatcoat. He's probably wearing a waistcoat beneath his jacket. And then he would be wearing a shirt under that, a nice formal shirt, and then under that he'd probably be wearing an undershirt. Yeah, there's a neat YouTube channel. If I remember, I'll link it below, but it's called Prior Attire, and I really like that channel. It's awesome because it shows mostly women's clothing, but sometimes men's clothing too, and basically shows a costumer dressing in the costume from the ground up. So they'll give you notations about the undergarments as well. I don't know, I just think it's so cool. Before I went to art school, when I was looking at colleges, I actually looked at a couple colleges for possibly going for theater, and not like acting theater, but like costume design or lighting design or something like that, because that was something I was doing in high school. Is I did props and costumes and set design and lighting design for the musicals we did in high school. I did Les Miserables, and I was also in Little Shop of Horrors, but I was in a lower year, that one. So Les Miserables, I had the most like responsibility, and I did a lot for that show. I did all the lighting design. I didn't actually pull the switches during the show. I was in the show as well. So I was in the show, I did the lighting design, I made a lot of the props, and I did the set design, and I sewed some of the costumes. So I wasn't in charge of costumes, but like I sewed some of them. So that was something I looked into like really briefly, but I couldn't find like an outstanding program. And I don't know. I considered it, but not very seriously, I guess is the way to put it. And I still sew on occasion, like not as much as I used to in high school. I used to do a lot of like costumes and stuff. I did cosplay for a while in high school. I still really like the idea of cosplay, but I have too many hobbies. I can't do that one too. I do a little bit of it, but more like real modern like movie cosplay, if that makes sense. So like I have a costume of Wendy from The Shining that I put together myself, partly like scrounging stuff on eBay and partly buying stuff secondhand as well. So I put that together. I have the bits and bobs to make a costume of Alex from A Clockwork Orange. I was going to be Alex for one Halloween. Obviously, he's an awful character. I love the book, but he's terrible. There's like a version of the book where it has a restored final chapter that like redeems him, and I hate that. I think he should just be awful because that's the point of the story. But yeah, I have that. I've also dressed up, like in medieval stuff for medieval fairs. And the other day I turned a dress into a skirt because the top was getting a bit too tight for me. I've been putting on a little bit of a winter layer, I guess. And some of my clothes that I bought at the beginning of college, I've been out of college for a few years now. Like, things are starting to not fit me, which is just the way things go. But I've been trying to like keep some of them and like, repurpose them. So some of them become scrap fabric that I use for mending other clothes. And then some of them, like the one I was just talking about, I turned it into a skirt, so now I can wear it again. I'm just trying to find another reference photo I want to draw here. Oh, this one's nice. Oh, Pinterest is telling me that this is a picture of Franklin D. Roosevelt. So maybe it is, maybe it isn't. That's what Pinterest says. But he's wearing a really nice, like a big bomber jacket, like an oversized bomber jacket. So I'm going to draw that on this page. I did like a couple pages before, I did like more sort of 20s women with the cloche hats and stuff. I'll do guys on this page. I think this one turned out pretty well for like doing it on camera while talking. That's like an extra level of difficult, all of these YouTubers who draw and talk, we're putting in a lot of work for you guys. I follow another YouTuber, Minnie Small. She does really good like hour-long chat videos. I don't know how she has that much to say. I guess she talks about books as well and like things she's been watching. So maybe I'll talk about that. I just finished listening to Decline and Fall on Audible by Yves Lenoir, which is funny because I was listening to The Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire, which the Gibbons one, and it's very dry. Like I like history and I read history books like voluntarily, and that one's dry, but it's also like really funny. Like if I'm in the mood where I can listen to the words and the way he's putting the sentences together, it's like sometimes so hilarious. Like there was one line somebody sent in olden times, during around the turn of the BCE to the CE, somebody sent off a severed head as a message, and it described it as he sent so-and-so's head along with a menacing letter. Like the head wasn't menacing enough. You had to send, like the letter was more menacing. Anyway, I don't know why that was so funny to me. But then I also bought Decline and Fall by Yves Lenoir because I thought it would be funny. Like, all right, so there's Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire, which is like the classic Decline and Fall. But then this one's also called Decline and Fall, which I'm sure is not an accident. And just the similarities were kind of funny, because it's about basically the decline and fall of this guy's life. A guy called Paul Pennyfeather, and it had similar ways of just describing stuff really quickly, really morbidly, and really hilariously. So that's cool. That's cool. I enjoyed it. It's got some bits in it that are like very inappropriate, both politically inappropriate and you know, just straight up inappropriate, which like for the time would have been satire, I guess. Like this is clearly satire of a certain class. In England, it takes place in England and Wales. And anyway, I enjoyed it. It was a fairly short audiobook, and I listened to it at about 1.5 times speed, so that made it even shorter. But I had a good time listening to it. And at the same time, I've also been reading Brideshead Revisited by Yves Lenoir, which is like really... It's also funny and very well written, and very philosophical, but it's also incredibly melancholy and sad. So like Decline and Fall is definitely a comedy. Like it was hilarious. Sorry, I'm trying to draw this guy's mouth. This guy, future president of the United States, according to Pinterest. Yeah, Brideshead Revisited was not a comedy. So I don't know. I like that. I like seeing the different styles that writers use. And I've been glad to be reading a little more often. I kind of fell off the reading bandwagon for a bit, which I felt a bit bad about. How are we doing for time? That's good. Yeah, we'll get this guy's face blocked in, and then I'll move on to this gigantic bomber jacket he's wearing. This is sort of you're looking at him slightly upwards, so the shadows under the chin I'm blocking in so that I can use water on them after. So they're gonna look a bit wonky to start. Just a little bit wonk. Alrighty. So we've got the tie. Try to be a little bit more loose with the clothing. Try to give it a bit of movement. He's wearing a nice tweed jacket. And of course, we got this big collar of the bomber jacket, which is sort of it's got shearling in it. Shearling lined bomber jacket. It's got like a huge collar, like really massive collar. I bet it would be so comfy. It's sort of like walking around in a duvet. Okay, get that there. So in this section here, the front of the coat is like open, like tipped outward. His hands are in the pocket, which is behind here. So you're seeing some of the seams on the inside. So I'm just going to indicate those really lightly. And you can also see a couple of the buttonholes. And like one thing I like to think about is, you know, how are the clothing? How are they closing? You know, what are the fasteners? That's a really nice thing to remember to include with your clothes. Or are there no fasteners? That's part of the sort of design theory for the costumes in Star Wars, is that you don't see any visible closures. No zippers, no buttons. Everything is sort of like magically, science fictionally closed. So that's why the Jedi are wearing more sort of, you know, kimono, samurai, like wrap type objects, is because then you're not seeing any visible closures or hardware like that. Even the belts don't really like have like latches that you can see. They just sort of like usually are hidden behind like a front piece. If you really look at them and get into them. So I also did a cosplay of Luke Skywalker in his black outfit from Return of the Jedi. So that's I've thought about I've thought about that a fair bit. All right. Again, I don't think this looks like a likeness at all, but it looks like a nice drawing, so that's good enough. I'm gonna get some water in here and start filling out the shapes that need filling out. And the nice thing with like vintage photographs, especially, you know, you getting back into black and white stuff, is often, depending on who the photographer is anyway, they may be out of copyright. So you're not running into copyright issues there. Obviously, just using stuff for practice, it really doesn't matter. But say you were going to use some stuff with the intent of potentially selling it, you know, you go back far enough and stuff will be free usage. They call it royalty free or copyright free. Royalty free is a bit different. Public domain, that's another word for it, public domain. And then sort of shearling stuff on the side, I'm gonna kind of just like scrubbing my brush to get the fluffy texture of it. Anyway, there we go. Couple of sketches. Not a bad spread in the sketchbook. And I hope you enjoyed hanging out with me while I worked on this. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!